Hello and welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System. My name's Terry Ellis. I'm an audio reviewer and Dirac Live calibrator. And in this video, we're going back to a topic which I covered a few weeks ago actually. We're talking about the Chord Electronics DAC and how we can get better sound quality from it. Hopefully you've already watched a review I did for the Dave a couple of weeks ago, and if you haven't seen that, I'll link that up here. And right at the beginning of that review, I made the comment that I wasn't finished with my exploration of trying to get better sound quality from the Dave, because a product like this, there's no way you can just put it in your system and get the best sound quality from it straight away. I honestly don't believe that. There's so many other variables in a system that you can look at and work on to try and achieve more from it. And because this is such a high performer, I think you can probably do a hell of a lot of work around the Chord Dave to get better sound from it. So that is what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks. One of the things I've done, I can't talk about now. There'll be a future video coming for that. That's very exciting, funnily enough, and I think it'll be really very interesting. So we'll cover that obviously in the future. Now, when I first got the Dave, and I think when I made the first video, I was contacted by a chap called Nick from the company Wave High Fidelity. Now, Wave High Fidelity make all different types of cables, but the product they contacted me about was a specific pair of cables that are designed to link between the Chord Electronics Blue Mark II scaler and the Chord Electronics Dave DAC. Now, anybody who's spent any time in the forum type community will be aware that the Dave is very susceptible to the incoming signal quality, and as I've already discovered, very susceptible to the incoming signal in terms of kind of noise and stuff that's on that signal. Very, very susceptible. And I think when the Blue Mark II was added to the system, some extra noise somehow was making its way into the Dave, and that was having some negative effects on the overall sound quality, despite all the other benefits that you got from adding the Blue Mark II scaler. Even people like Rob Watts has posted on forums about adding some ferrites to the two cables, the two SP-Diff digital cables that link from the Blue Mark II scaler to the Chord Dave. I'm sure owners of the Blue and the Dave have messed around with ferrites, maybe had good, bad or varying results. What's interesting about Wave High Fidelity, and in particular their Storm reference cables, is they've taken that philosophy, I think, to the nth level. And the Storm reference cable comes in either a single or a dual, and what they've done, they've installed I think 20 ferrites onto the SP-Diff digital cable. They claim that makes a huge difference to the performance of the Dave. So when I've been going through the last couple of weeks thinking about ways to improve the sound quality of this system, I've been doing, as I say, things in the background that we'll talk about in the future. I contacted Wave Fidelity and said, look, I haven't got a Blue Mark II yet, I haven't got a Hugo M scaler yet. However, I am using a BNC SP-Diff based digital cable input into the Dave, and I just wonder if your cable would have any impact on sound quality in this instance. So kindly Nick sent me one, and I've been using it for the last 2 or 3 days, and it's been very, very interesting. But let's quickly talk about the cable itself. It comes in some nice packaging. It's a very big and chunky and quality, really well made cable, and it's really quite impressive to look at. It's quite striking with the red and black contrasting colours. What I like is that it feels premium, it feels very well made. That's the first thing I like. The second thing I like is they've used very high quality connectors and very high quality components within the cable. They've used a 5-9 solid silver central conductor. They've used Oyedi BNC connections on each end because they've got a solid silver center pin. They use silver based solder, and the 20 ferrites that they installed onto the cable were installed in certain places, and they're installed as close to the cable as possible to try and maximize their effects. So I installed the Storm reference cable into a Dave, which you can see kind of here coming out the back. Now, because it's a heavy cable and because the Dave is on an angle, when it sits in the ensemble stand, I was a little bit worried about the weight of the cable pulling down. So just to play safe, really, really safe, because obviously I don't want to damage the cable, I certainly don't want to damage the Dave either, I've used a Furatech NCF booster, one in the signal variety, just to support the cable in the Dave, because to me that's where the main obviously weight of the cable is going to be pulling on. So that maybe that's adding the benefits of the Furatech NCF booster to the chain. I'm fine if it is, but really that is there in support of the overall cable. Put it in and had a listen. Now it's very, very interesting because in theory the cable has not been specifically designed for this use. However, my way of thinking is, well, if it's improving, if it's reducing the RF that's coming into the Dave from the Blue Mark II scaler, surely there's still RF in the air, there's still RF coming from the other products in the chain. So adding it in the system as it is, surely it's going to have a similar benefit, or maybe it would and maybe it wouldn't. So I went into it with a complete open mind, really wasn't sure what to expect. Now, I already use a really fantastic SPDIF cable, BNC cable, and I wasn't sure honestly what to expect, but straight away I could hear there was differences and it was bringing something additional to the table. But to be honest, it wasn't until maybe 48 hours later that things started getting going and I really started to hear the benefits of the Storm reference cable and really more of what the Chord Electronics Dave is capable of. With the Storm reference BNC cable in this system connecting to the Dave, we definitely get a more focused sound, we definitely get a more focused mid-range, but it's not all that you get more clarity in the soundstage. Details become far more obvious and far more clear. We get slightly improved depth to the sound as well, and that's because I think there's slightly lower noise floor, and elements that are deeper within the soundstage form clearer and easier, and they're easier to detect. I've been really impressed by the Storm reference cable. So it's kind of pointed me to something I think I was already aware of. If you remember back to the series I made for the Dave, I was like, you really have to pay attention to the quality of the signal that you feed it. So for me, the quality of the source was massively important, and I tested different ways of connecting to the Dave, and connecting to it via BNC I found to be far superior to connecting via USB. And I've also connected via optical to it as well, and BNC, I mean, I could do an easy test of that, but it's so dramatically better via BNC than via optical. Honestly, there's no need. The sound quality via BNC is definitely the best, but it just goes to show that even that aspect of the signal coming into the Dave is critical, absolutely critical to achieving what you can get from the Dave. Now, as part of the system, I'm still using the Unison Research Unico 150 because I actually took that out of the system and I put it back in the system because I remembered thinking to myself there was parts of the sound I just wasn't quite happy with. It was lacking a little bit of overall clarity, it was lacking a little bit of sound stage space and clarity, and the bass was coming over a bit heavy at times. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I've incorrectly reviewed this amplifier. Maybe the traits that I'm hearing from this, it's just allowing me to hear more of what's happening here and before it. So there's no better way to test and kind of go back and put that back in. If you haven't seen the review for the Unico 150, obviously I'll link that up there for you now. And since I've made changes that I can't talk about, and the changes that we're talking about, this amplifier and the system in general has taken on a whole new level. And the Unico 150 is an amplifier. It wants to give you the sound. It kind of wants to get up and party with you. It's kind of got that kind of dynamic and kind of pumped up presentation about it, which I really like. I really like that kind of presentation. But if that doesn't balance with clarity, then that can all become a bit much. It can all become a bit mush sometimes. So, interestingly, the improvements I've made here now makes me think slightly differently about the Unico 150. Now, I already liked it, but it's now I like it a lot more now. So yeah, it's been a very, very interesting couple of days with Wave High Fidelity Storm reference cables. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to suggest if you have a Dave and a Blue Mark II scaler, you should get in contact with Wave High Fidelity and get one in for demonstration purposes and have a listen. The company will give you 2 weeks to test one out. Obviously, you need to buy it. The company will give you 2 weeks to test one out. But I'm pretty sure if you buy it, there's very, very slim chance you're going to return it. I'm also going to go out on a limb and say, I don't know how many people will be doing this, but I would assume people that are using just the Dave on its own are probably feeding USB into it. Now, I've already, for me, when I tested that, by comparison to putting like another clock in the chain, which is probably similar to, in a way, to what adding a Blue Mark II or a Hugo M scaler is, putting more clocks in the chain. I think it's like another level away. It's like another section of reduced noise coming in. So if you're just using a Dave and you're using a BNC input, get in touch with Wave High Fidelity and have a look at a Storm reference cable, because it is really, really, really a good product. I'm hoping for this cable to hang around a little bit longer because I'd like to try it out with the Chord Electronics Qtist DAC and see if it has the same sort of benefit to that as it does the Dave, because I'm thinking, well, you know, if the Dave's susceptible to RF noise, why would the Qtist be any different? And if I get the Hugo 2 TT in for a review, I'd like to try it with that as well, because I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe maybe it's the case for all DACs, but certainly if it's the case for one Chord Electronics DAC, why would it be different for another? Don't know. It'd certainly be interesting to try. So that's something that I'll be bringing to you in the future, because I personally think, as you know, the Qtist DAC is about the best bang for buck DAC out there. I know it responds a lot to isolation products. I know it responds really well to a linear power supply. I've gone through all that obviously back, you know, several months ago. Will it respond the same as the Dave does for a very much an RF reducing digital BNC cable? And I think it will. The proof is in the pudding. What I'm going to do is make a song demonstration video or two, just so that you can see how this digital cable sounds in this system. I think you'll be really impressed. Bear in mind, the system's now more well dialed in than it has ever been in any of the previous videos leading up to now. That's really important, because I've made some small but massive changes to the digital section of it, which really makes a big difference for the overall, I think, intensity, smoothness. It just makes a really big difference overall. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's obviously a look at the Wave High Fidelity Storm reference digital SP diff digital cable, specifically designed for being used with a Chord Electronics Dave, and specifically designed to be used between a Blue Mark II scaler, Hugo M scaler, and the Chord Dave. But interestingly, I think we might get a lot of benefit out of it with other DACs from Chord as well. So that's going to be really interesting. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you're enjoying our Festival of Sound show coverage. I worked really hard at that. There's a lot of videos in the channel already, and a lot more videos still to come. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.